Long time no see. I am back. I am not over being sick yet. If you were wondering what I have been, I may or may not got in a fight with some pollen, and let's just say I lost said fight. But nonetheless, I am somewhat sober enough off of allergy medicine to hit you guys up with an interview that just went live with the leader and main navigator of PSO2 New Genesis, Hiro Arai, going all into a PSO2 and New Genesis and the future of the game. But before we hop on into this, if you are new to the channel, or if you find that video interesting, or you just want to give me a big old thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, or check out membership for me to make it through that video without totally dying from this allergy problem, make sure you do all that. And of course, with that, let's jump into the interview, and let's see what our navigator have to say. So like always, I will have a link down in the description below if you're interested in checking this out. There are a lot of little tidbits here for like the question of the live stream, our navigator, as well as a whole bunch of like little off comments. So if you're interested in reading up on all that, check the description below. We are going to be mainly focusing on the stuff that actually affect the game itself. So let's go ahead. Let's get to the good stuff, shall we? So real quick before we get fully into this, though, just know this is a Japanese article here. So, there's some Google Translate issues here and there. But nonetheless, we're going to do our best to, figure out exactly what's being said here. And then we get into, of course, some New Genesis stuff here. Of course, mainly acting about the updates itself and what exactly is going on with the update and the content moving forward for NGS. And of course, they bring up, of course, the roadmap and what will be coming in the winter update. But lucky enough, the interview will pretty much call out saying, does it mean the volume side will remain the same as it is now? Since I know a lot of people, me included a little bit here, is a little bit worried about the content that's going to keep us busy throughout the next few months as we get more and more closer to, of course, a bouncer, and then, of course, also the giant update, which will be adding the desert area. So, as stated here by Hawaii, I regret that I should have told you more about this, but the update policy is slightly different than PSO2 to NGS. PSO2 have been updated every 2 weeks with the concept of having some fun every week. In NGS, it is a policy to take time to make low volume and release it every 6 months or so. So there will be a wave in the amount of content here. So here is something we kind of always gather here, where of course seeming elite at far like getting with Blaver and Bouncer coming in here in between the 6 months, and then of course being the big update roughly 6 months, since lines up pretty much with what we already know for the roadmap and so on. But to carry on here, the development team know that some users are playing around and taking breaks and are working hard to make something good so that they can come back with every major update. So, once again, elite acknowledgement of knowing that, or I should say, is that, the player bait will return every 6 months or so. Which in return, we will see how that works, especially how fast the gaming community, pretty much go from game to game as we get more and more MMOs, and we always get MMOs nowadays. So we will see how much weight that's gonna hold, and if that's gonna work as they are hoping. But nonetheless, at least they are well, and I get in return is hopefully meaning we will have less mechanics that is just trying to suck our life away, like many other MMOs out there. But nonetheless, it could be good or bad depending on how you want to look at this and the type of player you are. But we continue on here with, of course, for more small updates here as stated. Of course, that doesn't mean that there will be no updates at all. We will update every 2 to 3 months, focusing on quests, a system-related expansion. We want to make it fun until the next region. It deliver such as seasonal events and new item delivery, which is stuff we pretty much always knew about, such as titles, of course, the mag stuff, as well as the new Ultra Quest. We just recently got a, I believe, lat update, wasn't it? Depending on the time that I missed it being sick. So, like, on one side is honestly seem to be following ad plan. Still doesn't mean that a lot of it might not, fix the problem at hand. But hopefully, with the whole introduction of new quests at Dated Heal, hopefully that'll meaning more client orders and more stuff that is elite repeatable or stuff to actually farm for. Hopefully, it will be something along them lines. And then the seasonal events as well, throwing in some other stuff to hunt for. And hopefully some of the stuff will happen to end up to be decent instead of just like throwaway items that you can easily just get your hands on by just buying from the player shop. And hopefully we'll add more, rarity to some of this stuff, especially when it comes to the items itself. But these are things we're going to have to wait and see because we are going to be getting the updates every 2 to 3 months at Dated Heal, don't really mean that this stuff gonna actually hold up weight beyond a hour or two, which or at all really. So we will have to wait and see on this stuff. But it seemed like that is still gonna be the major focus here, which honestly makes sense. But hopefully some of this stuff will not just be just straight up like menu focused up and whatnot, or items that not gonna hold any pulpit. Hopefully we can start getting some stuff to actually give some carrot on the stick, especially for more longer play, and not something that you do once, open 5 minute doing, and then you pretty much done. We have to wait and see. 2 to 3 months is a long time between these, so hopefully soon we get something that will add a little more time to playtime here. And then for anyone who is curious about getting some more side story or some more story content as we are waiting for the big area add-on, we do have a little bit of insight here with the question being, how fast do you plan on updating the main scenario? And the answer is, the main scenario is updated at the same time as the region is added. So, of course, don't bet anything of substance that's all the main party concerned to them. The side stories is scheduled to be delivered about once every 2 to 4 months. So, in return, you're looking at worst case scenario 4 months, 6 months to the big expansion. And hopefully, it will get a little more in depth because the thing is, from what we have seen in the game as of now, with the Anna storyline being pretty much wrapped up in 10 to 15 minutes or less. Now, hopefully, that type of content not going to end up taking that long, because if you're hoping for that to be content to jump back in, honestly, if it ain't then what we have seen so far, and not going to be, but hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully they will expand this out a little bit more. They still feel like one of them things that, not exactly going to come back for, but more let it stack up. And with that being said, though, if they do stay on a 2-month schedule, roughly, so we are looking at roughly either 1 update between, maybe 2, if we are lucky, between giant expansions, or every 6 months expansions anyway. And for anyone that might be hoping there will be more to it than what we have always seen, which the statement did not help what I just said, is compared to PSO2 is the delivery at a slower pace. At data, I agree. In NGS, all user will always play the story, so the volume of the story will not be as large as a PSO2. Which, on one hand, all players are going to play it because, at least as of now anyway, the story content is locking most of the gameplay stuff, such as side story, your battle power. So the story have to be done. This is not a optional thing like it was in Bait PSO. But in return, it seems to be more along the line, like the vibe I'm getting here is, of course, the story content and nowhere near to the same extent at Bait PSO. Also, probably because that time around, PSO New Genesis seemed to also be a little more focused on gameplay, which is honestly a good thing, because that was my biggest problem I had with Bait PSO2 main story, of just how visual novel-ish it was. But at the same time, it honestly doesn't really seem like we're going to get anything of real substance when it comes to that plot outside of a few minutes of content. But once again, we will have to see on that. And then we have a little bit of an update here when it comes to the etchy scratches, and also continuing to apologizing for not letting people know exactly how the etchy scrap we're gonna work with item going over. But the main thing to come out of this is a quote talking about why etchy is not really tradable for etchy items right now, which in return seem like we are backtracking a little bit from what we have Horde doing. I believe it was the second prologue. Well, they stated that etchy item would be able to be sold on the player shop, but as of now, it seemed like they are stepping back on that because of fraud and, trying to stop that. Which in return is also a pointing why they are updating now the etchy every 1 to 2 months instead of every 6 months like it was in JP. Honestly, like I'm still not following along with the actual fraud side of this. But nonetheless, don't bet to be able to trade or you sell your etchy item. So either that was a mid-translation inside the prologue stream, or it is something that ended up getting backtracked. It seemed like a lot of stuff is now becoming kind of more quote off because of the worry of fraud, which is some way a little frustrating, especially in some of the mechanic. But nonetheless, that we're going on with etchy scratches as of now. And of course, they are still going to be adding more items every month to 2 months. So if you was hoping, like someone in the room, that some of that time for creating the item would be more useful in making weapons or armor, doesn't seem like that's going to be changing anytime soon, sadly. And we are officially in the second part of the interview, which honestly is starting to get into a lot more questions that, we all been questioning about. So for now, let's go ahead and go into, of course, some origin quest up here and some interesting tidbits about it. So as of now, as I'm pretty sure most people know, if you take part in the origin quest, the weapon and unit you get from it is nothing special. You can get them from any point in the game, from doing any amount of content. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they might drop a little higher on the origin quest, sometimes they don't. But nonetheless, there is not really a point to take part in the origin quest at the moment, beyond, of course, mainly just farming up some affiliates a little quicker than normal. So, we have also a direct response about why this is. So, as stated here by Hawaii, more items are now available as permanent content so that the reward aren't tied to an origin quest. We aim to allow users to log in at a favorite time and play freely. And then he is asked about weapon law being limited to emergency quests or origin quests in global. And will that be something that will happen in the future? And he states, I think we may release special unique weapon. Also, there might be a situation where equipment that can be temporarily attained in the emergency quest is stronger. However, a policy is to create an opportunity for equipment equal of strength to be attained at any permanent content here. So pretty much it seemed like that might be going the way that I was originally hoping, kinda. Which was my original hope was coming into Origin Quest, especially coming out of the beta, being one of the content that like, hey, if you do the Origin Quest, the items will be available in the Origin Quest for however long the Origin Quest might be around, especially as we start getting more and more. And then when the Origin Quest ends, they will just start populating into other content. And then when the Origin Quest come back around, if they have the same equipment, just have it be a higher drop weight inside of the origin quests. Not exactly stating exactly that will happen, but it does seem like it might be a possibility here, or, Moat Weapon will still just end up appearing everywhere. But with that being said, all my theories aside on that and my hopes, we do have the little issue here of a court talking about unique weapon and a court them being stronger, which is mainly, as we have noted, for most of the items we have got inside of PSO2. Most of the items are pretty much on par with each other outside of 1, maybe 2% difference between different weapon sets, which in return, at least for me personally, make it a little more harder to desire the carrot on the stick of trying to get them. And with that being said, though, it doesn't look like they're going to be changing anytime soon. It's safe to say weapon probably moving forward for the time being is going to be a lot more similar to each other and very situational, depending on like 1 or 2 stats. which is at the same time nice because if you spend hundreds of hours trying to get the pulpit augments or stuff on your weapon, it's good to know they're not instantly going to be replaced. But on the other hand, it also make it well if my weapon is equal in strength, if not like 1% lower, which in overall scheme of thing at the time of the video anyway, doesn't really mean all that much for the content you are doing. Without you someone that's super micromanaging, there would not really no point to try to farm the weapons. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here, but we will see how this actually work out. But it does not seem that Origin Quest going to really have any real desire to do the content, which in return bring up a whole nother question about especially when we get trigger quests and we can start doing the Origin Quest as we see fit. What is going to be the real draw here? Is it just going to be the more ease of use for leveling your classes, or will there be something more to that? We will have to wait and see, I guess. And as for Origin Quest being looked at as in-game content, we do have a little bit of information coming from this. And of course, to break it down, that as stated here, there were technically, basically, there are two axes of play. Exploration section and battle section. Emergency quests / origin quests prepared as accent. So these are more as an out looked at as just being extra content on the side, not really either or, which is kind of interesting to see that they are looked at as, I guess, technically kind of throwaway content, which I guess in the overall scheme of things makes sense. Since Origin Quest is elite as of now, since it is random, the time of actually committing to actually join them is a little harder to do, especially since we don't have a schedule like we did in Global originally. But nonetheless, we are pretty much getting the hint here that they are not in-game, they are not item farming, they are not leveling, they more just there as distractions. But nonetheless, it's a little disappointing that they are not looked at as anything more than that. The statement continue as in the future, we are like to increase the content that use a quote basis such as cocoons and trigger quests distribute on our roadmap is equivalent to that. So this is actually kind of interesting, which I know I'm not the only one that have been saying this. I have seen a lot of people in my chat and in my comments that we obviously need to start getting more quests that is tied to like dungeons or like instant area outside of the hub. It's good to see that is something that will probably end up start happening, as well as cocoons. Cocoons, I have stated many times, at least on my live streaming way, of what I would like from cocoons, especially moving forward, of being another pillar to leveling instead a pillar to just get a skill point. A pillar that you can hopefully do more in instead of one in once or twice and calling it a day. Because the content is pretty much once you $5 it, you don't really have a reason to go back to do cocoons. And personally, I kind of been hoping that the cocoons will become more of a way to farm affiliates and not only have it where we have the ranking system, but also have the ranking system play into like affiliate bonuses and of course like well drop from enemies inside a cocoon. So it seemed like cocoons might have a bright future, but we will see to what extent. And trigger quests is interesting because like the way they talk about it might be just the Google Translate here is it called with quote off bases. They could just be meaning just as in origin quests is all technically quote off bases, or they might be meaning it as in the trigger quests are not going to be what we honestly expecting and might not have anything to do with origin quests. Realistically, it probably will be. There's probably a translation problem or just heavily implying. But nonetheless, at night to dream that the trigger quest it might be something different altogether, but we will see. We will see. Who knows? Maybe the trigger quest it might be into dungeons. Who knows? Maybe that's the way they're gonna do it. We will see in due time. And this is not exactly like new, but still an interesting little tidbit from the interview, which is of course a winded the implement of Gigantix inside of a point zone, or also known as the 32 open area hill. But at Data Hill, Gigantix is a strong enemy that will be encountered while point. It was implemented in the fourth section, which design proven a new type of play into PSO2 that did not have with up to 32 player fighting, and then stating about what was the ideal behind, or did they know about the waiting around for the YouTube bond, which was very popular there on the release of launch. As stated here, I thought there would be such people, but it was designed to make it because each one was free to play, and the goal was to move in search of the Gigantic in the event of a thunderstorm. After the fix, it seemed that your playstyle is gradually changing here. Obviously, that didn't exactly mean for people to wait around, but we did nonetheless. And after wine Gigantics have stopped running away, I want the thunderstorm is over. As stated here is, of course, the pulpit was to eliminate the thunderstorm waiting. The development team have determined that one of the cause of waiting for the thunderstorm is that it may not defeat in time. I don't 100% agree with that. That might be what they're thinking, but at least from what I have seen is I'm pretty sure most of the people had nothing, the whole running away part was, yes, annoying. But at the same time, I don't know if the whole letting them stay to you defeat it or no one else around to fight it. I don't know if that exactly helped with waiting. Maybe it does because I get technically the main reason people were waiting to get their hands on the new units and weapons and whatnot, and also hoping to make a quick buck off the player shop. Well, I get killing it. Does give you a higher chance to get it. So maybe it's a little column A, column B on this. But at least that's the way they're looking at it right now. But with that being said, though, as far as the waiting room is concerned, is for technically in-game content I get for the most part is, of course, waiting around and chatting with people, which in return, what a better way to do it than also waiting around for Gigantic to spawn. So I get waiting technically to that same purpose, I guess, as the main lobby did. And then we get to our next question of note here, which is, of course, talking about the Photon arts and techniques, and honestly, why is this so limited compared to what we had in PSO, which I have always been in the camp of maybe we will get there in due time. But it might not be as accurate as we was hoping. And that stated by our navigator here, PSO2, a normal attack was actually just a mean to recover PP. Which is true, and technically still kind of true. There was some Photon art that was not very effective, also because it couldn't fit in the palette, tended to narrow down the numbers. So this is kind of interesting because in PSO, we had 15, 16 distant ability, if not more, that you could interchange into your palette to pretty much make combos as you see fit and give you number of way to pretty much make your own combat style. But as stated here, it seemed like that might not be the case because as it continued, the development team believed that the option is not reduced because there are actions that require a buy a skill, an action to charge additional input, and action of weapons and multi-weapons, which is not horribly wrong. Like, don't get me wrong, we have had abilities in the past, and including in NGS, where you hold it for X amount of seconds to do certain stuff, and then as we got into the Scion class and near the end of especially getting into like Hero and Phantom and whatnot, we did start getting more like combo focus on doing certain Photon art in a specific order or certain type of input. And that seemed to be very much the way that New Genesis is going, because as I have stated many times, it kind of feels like every class is like a Scion Light class in a lot of ways. So it seems me, and that is not going to be changing or moving forward. So if you are someone who was hoping to get, 20 distant Photon art that you can interchange to you see fit, it seemed like realistically it's probably going to be a lot lower than that. We're just mainly coming good at doing combos. So in return, you might have to actually come a little bit better at learning certain combo strings and linking ability, which on one hand is kind of awesome, but on the other hand, it would be nice to have the flexibility to make the combos that you are wanting instead of being stuck with what is the norm. But with that being said, we will see if this actually translates as we get farther and farther into the game. But if you're someone hoping for a bigger ability, less of stuff to just do, you might not be getting it from a New Genesis. And then for anyone that is, well, excited for any collaborations or crossover into other game, movies, anime, or anything else in between, because PSO was very big on that, especially on JP. If you are someone who hoping to get some of that soon, do not affect it anytime soon, because by a stated Bio Navigator here that I would like to collaborate, but the fourth thing to do is to instill the worldview and game content of NGS, so it will not be immediate due at the pace, if I can read here, at the pace of PSO2. So pretty much this have always been my theory when it came to the crossover event. Well, we probably won't be seeing them for the 2 years or so, because it seemed like, at least as a player, I personally would want them to, of course, add what they seem to be stating here, actually fill out the game itself, get everything into a functioning state, and a state that actually have content for it to do before throwing in all the kooky stuff. So sadly, if you're someone who was hoping for this stuff to be any sooner, sadly, you might be waiting multiple years here. If I had to guess, I'm going to say about 2 years if we stay at the same pace we are right now for our content. So if you were hoping for it, sadly, you're going to be waiting a lot longer. And that brings us to the end of this interview. If you want to read through the whole interview yourself, once again, link down in the description. There is a lot of information in there, especially going into, of course, the live streams, and for like the reason they look at certain aspects of the game, such as mobility and whatnot. This video mainly about actual content stuff that is more, I get more useful as a player, but if you're interested for any more like backstory stuff and whatnot, I highly recommend check out the interview. Once again, it is available over on Dengeki, but just know this is a Japanese article, so once again, have fun with Google Translate if you can't read Japanese. So keep that in mind. But nonetheless, links below to both of the articles here. That pretty much would do it for me, because like we did get some information out of this. Nothing too grandiose, as you could tell, but at least what I covered, it what seemed to be the most important stuff. So if you have found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, make sure you do like, favorite, subscribe, hit all the bells, and of course, check out membership below. And of course, as soon as I fully over this allergy problem that have turned a probably 10-minute video into over an hour of filming, make sure you come on over to my live stream I do every single night when I'm not dying, right here on YouTube and Twitch as well. So you can check me out here at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard here, and of course twitch.tv/Troy Maconn as well. And if you're interested in anything else I am doing, feel free to check out patreon.com/Maconn and all my social, all the links below. And with that, that would do it for me. I'm going to pop a pill and go to bed, and I will see you all, hopefully, in the comments.
Luna here. I would like to give some thanks to Kyle Blower and Sepia Underground for feeding me the best cat. If you want to call out by me, Luna, then sub at VIP Arcs level over on Patreon or become a members here on YouTube. See you all next time.